Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive where we're going to be
Oh,
tackling.
that's just gonna be fun.
I know, right? We're going to be tackling a really big question.
Yeah.
Can people and the world really change?
It's a question for the ages.
It really is. And we're diving into this philosophical text
Okay.
that sets up this debate
All right.
between a young person
Mm-hmm.
who's really skeptical about how simple life can be
Okay.
and a philosopher who's like all about simplicity
Right.
and how much we can change.
Got it.
So imagine like going head to head with a philosopher who
Yeah.
like insists that the world is simple,
Yeah.
no matter how complicated it feels to you.
Yeah. I can see how that would be a frustrating conversation.
Right.
For sure.
That's the kind of conversation we're going to unpack in this
Oh.
deep dive.
I think a lot of people can relate to this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're always dealing with so much information and, like, responsibilities pile up, and everything just seems to get more and more complex.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's where the youth in this dialogue is coming from.
Okay.
He's talking about this feeling of disillusionment.
Okay.
Like he's lost that ease he had as a kid.
Oh, so he's, like, longing for simpler times?
Yeah, and he brings up like the weight of adult responsibilities and societal problems, you know,
Sure, like,
discrimination, inequality.
big issues, yeah.
Yeah, and the decline of traditional religious guidance.
Oh, interesting.
So that's a crucial point.
Okay.
The youth sees this decline in belief systems as adding to this anxiety and uncertainty.
Right. Like, without that foundation, things feel shaky.
Exactly.
It's like people are becoming more self-centered
Yeah.
and less connected to, like, a larger community.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we have this young person basically saying, hey, the world is messy
Okay.
and things aren't as straightforward as they used to be.
Yeah.
But then the philosopher jumps in, and he's got a totally different take.
Really?
He argues that the world itself isn't inherently complex. It's our perception.
It's on us.
It's our lens that makes it seem that way.
That's a big claim.
It is.
How does he back that up?
Well, he uses this analogy of well water.
Okay.
He says the water in a well stays at a constant 18 degrees Celsius
Celsius. Okay.
year round.
All right.
But in the summer, that same water, it feels cool and refreshing.
I get it.
And in the winter, it feels warm.
Because it's colder outside, so
Right.
it's all relative.
Exactly. It's the same temperature,
Yeah.
but our experience of it changes
Mm-hmm.
based on the surrounding context.
Sure.
Like our expectations, our mood at that moment.
It's like, whoa, mind blown. I see what he's getting at.
It is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's like that classic example of subjectivity.
Right.
We don't experience the world objectively. It's all filtered through our own perceptions. And, you know, those perceptions are shaped by our past experiences, our beliefs, even our current emotional state.
Yeah, it's like we're all wearing these different lenses.
Exactly. So he's suggesting that if we can shift our perspective, maybe our experience of the world might change too.
And maybe even the world itself.
Yeah, he's really going there.
And that leads to his boldest statement. Change yourself and the world will appear simpler.
Whoa.
Have you ever had a moment where like a shift in your perspective
Yeah.
totally changed how you felt about a situation?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like all the time.
That's the kind of transformation the philosopher is talking about.
Okay.
He even uses this other metaphor,
Okay.
comparing our perception to wearing dark glasses
Interesting.
that distort our view of the world.
It's like he's asking us,
Yeah.
do we have the courage to take those glasses off and face the world's true brightness, even if it's uncomfortable at first?
Yeah, it's a real challenge.
It is.
He's challenging us to question those ingrained patterns of thinking.
Like those dark glasses that might be blocking us from seeing things in a new way.
A simpler light.
Exactly.
So on one side, we have the youth, who's like, the world is complex, full of challenges.
Right.
On the other, we have the philosopher, offering this radical idea that we can change our perception.
And experience a simpler reality.
Yeah,
Wow, it's like two completely different worldviews clashing.
it is. And the question is that even possible?
Yeah, can we really change ourselves that much?
That the world around us seems simpler.
That's where things get really interesting, and that's what we'll be exploring as we dive deeper into this dialogue.
Right, because the youth doesn't just accept this idea blindly.
Right.
He pushes back.
Yeah.
He's questioning whether everyone is capable of this transformation.
Of course, that's a natural question.
Can we all just magically change our perspectives and suddenly find happiness?
It does seem a bit too good to be true.
He even admits to struggling with change himself.
So how does the philosopher respond to that skepticism?
That's what we'll uncover in the next part of this deep dive.
So the philosopher's response to the youth's doubts. It's pretty interesting. He doesn't back down at all.
Oh, really?
He insists that every single person,
Wow.
without exception,
Okay.
has the potential to change and find happiness.
It's a bold claim.
It is. It's almost like,
Yeah.
like he's laying down a challenge, you know?
Right. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but trust me.
Yeah. But he's not offering some magic formula.
Right.
Or like a quick fix.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, do these 5 steps,
No.
and poof, you'll be a changed person.
No, definitely not.
And that's where the tension really builds, because the youth is understandably skeptical.
Oh,
He's like looking for something concrete to hold on to.
Yeah.
You know, some evidence that this radical change is even possible.
I think we can all relate to that feeling.
Oh, for sure.
Wanting to change, wanting things to be different,
Yeah.
but it feels overwhelming, almost impossible.
It's that feeling of being stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're wearing those dark glasses so tightly that we can't even imagine seeing things another way.
And instead of giving like step-by-step instructions,
Right?
the philosopher hints at something deeper.
Oh,
Something he calls
what does he call it?
another philosophy.
Okay, another philosophy.
It's like he's dangling this key,
Yeah.
saying, there's a whole other way to understand this,
Ooh, intriguing.
but it requires willingness to explore,
Yeah.
to let go of your preconceived notions.
Okay, so what is this other philosophy?
I know, right?
Does he give us any details?
Well, he offers a few hints.
Okay.
He suggests that it delves into the nature of happiness
That makes sense.
and how our perceptions shape our reality.
So it's about aligning ourselves with the world
Yeah,
and finding that peace and contentment that's not dependent on outside circumstances.
right. But he's careful not to reveal too much at this point.
It's like a cliffhanger.
It is. He's building suspense,
I see it.
making us want to learn more.
Okay, so it's like he's saying, stick with me and I'll show you something amazing.
That's exactly.
But this also raises some questions about change itself.
Like what?
Is it a sudden epiphany?
Ah.
You know, a light bulb moment?
Right.
Or is it more gradual?
Unlearning old patterns.
Yeah.
Embracing new ways of thinking.
Those are great questions.
You know, right.
And I think that's what makes this dialogue so interesting. It doesn't give easy answers.
Right.
It makes us grapple with these concepts ourselves.
Reflect on our own experiences with change.
Right. Have there been times in your life when
Yeah.
you've had a sudden shift in perspective? Or has change happened more slowly for you
Yeah.
through small adjustments over time?
It's like that saying.
Yeah.
The only constant is change.
True, but even though change is inevitable, we often resist it, right?
We do. We cling to what's familiar.
Even if it's not good for us.
Exactly.
But what if, as the philosopher suggests,
Yeah.
change is actually the key to a simpler, more joyful way of being?
That's an interesting thought.
It is, isn't it?
And it brings us back to the core tension of this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
That push and pull between the complexity of the world
And the possibility of changing ourselves.
to experience it differently.
It's like the youth is voicing our doubts and anxieties. And
Yeah.
the philosopher is offering this glimmer of hope.
Right. Like maybe there's a way to navigate the chaos.
With more grace and ease.
And simplicity.
It's like 2 sides of the same coin, you know? The world can feel really complicated and overwhelming,
But we have the potential for peace and simplicity within ourselves.
regardless of what's happening outside.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
We've got this young person
Yeah.
wrestling with the weight of the world
And this philosopher.
who's convinced that the world isn't inherently complex.
It's our perception that needs adjusting.
And then there's this other philosophy.
Right, like a secret pathway to deeper understanding.
And that's where we'll pick up in the final part of this deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so we've been wrestling with this idea that the world might not be as complicated as we think.
Yeah.
That maybe it's our perception, our dark glasses, as the philosopher calls them, that are making things so complex.
Yeah, that's a powerful image.
It is. But how do we even start to shift that?
Right. What does it even mean to change ourselves enough to see the world more simply?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, and the philosopher tackles it head on.
Okay.
He says change starts with questioning our assumptions.
Those dark glasses.
Exactly. Like, what if they're distorting our view?
What if we took them off?
And saw the world with fresh eyes?
It's like we're seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, without all that baggage.
All the preconceived notions, yeah.
But how do we actually do that?
It sounds kind of daunting.
It does, but he does give us some insights.
Oh, okay, like what?
He talks about self-awareness, paying attention to our thoughts, noticing how they shape our experience.
Okay, so noticing how our thoughts affect how we see the world.
Exactly, and he says we often get caught in these negative cycles, dwelling on problems, focusing on what's wrong.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Right, and it makes everything feel so much harder.
Totally, like when you're in a bad mood and everything just seems terrible.
Exactly, but he's saying we have more control over that than we think.
Over our emotions.
Yeah, he's not saying it's easy to shift from negative to positive, but it is possible.
Okay, so it takes practice.
Like learning a new skill. It takes effort and consistency.
But then it becomes more natural.
Exactly.
So we're retraining our minds, basically.
Yeah, to focus on the good, to find those simple joys.
It's like choosing to see the glass half full.
Instead of half empty, yeah.
But what about the real problems in the world?
Right, the things that are actually difficult.
Does he just ignore those?
He doesn't deny them, no.
Okay.
But he says our perspective can change how we experience them.
Oh, interesting.
A more positive outlook can help us be more resilient.
So we can find creative solutions.
That we might have missed otherwise.
So it's not about pretending problems don't exist.
No, not at all.
It's about facing them with a different mindset.
One that's open to possibilities.
And focused on solutions.
Exactly, and it all comes back to his main message.
What's that?
That change is possible for everyone.
It's not a quick fix, though, right?
No, it's a journey, a transformation.
And he doesn't lay out all the details of that other philosophy.
Right, but he gives us hope.
He does.
He suggests that by embracing simplicity, being positive, challenging our beliefs, we can see the world in a new way.
It makes you think about your own dark glasses.
Yeah, what are those beliefs that are holding us back?
That are keeping us from seeing things clearly, more simply, with more joy.
Those are the questions to ask ourselves, I think.
They are. So this deep dive, it's been about challenging ourselves.
Yeah.
Exploring change. Looking at the world in a new way.
Acknowledging the complexity, but also the potential for simplicity.
For ease, for joy.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks for joining us, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep those minds curious and those dark glasses off.